Good morning. I am Sue Butts, and I am very happy to welcome you here today. Thank you for taking the time with us to consider this proposal for an HR scorecard. The presentation today will cover metrics that will be tracked as part of the HR scorecard, the rationale for selecting the metrics, the method for tracking, and the source the metric will come from. Lastly, we will present the anticipated business results that will come from tracking metrics in HR. So let's get started. Why an HR scorecard? Human Resources continues to position itself as a trusted strategic business partner with the operational aspects of the universities within Columbia Southern Education Group. We do this through our support of department leaders on a day-to-day basis. We know the opportunity exists to expand the role of HR as a strategic business partner at the organizational level. To further integrate HR into the day-to-day operations, an HR scorecard is a way to visually represent the key measures that are important to the continuing success of the organization. Let's take a look at a proposed HR scorecard. The areas that we would begin to track are listed in this table. Retention is important to understand why employees are leaving and what areas need to be improved. Recruiting and talent management are important to understand the time it takes to fill positions, the vacancy rates, the quality of hires, and the source of our applicants. Employee engagement helps us to understand how our employees feel about the organization. The employee referral rate, the number of employee relations issues, and survey scores will be the measures that we track. Operations is the most associated with cost of the organization. This metric indicates how well we are doing with maintaining costs associated with salaries and revenue. Workforce demographics is an area to actively track the headcount by employee category. Now let's take a look at each of these areas in more detail. The following slides will provide details in order to present a thorough understanding of what will be tracked, why it should be tracked, how it will be tracked, the source of data and frequency of reporting, and the expected business results. So let's talk about retention. Voluntary and involuntary turnover numbers are indicators of why employees are leaving CSEG. Voluntary turnover helps us to know things we can do to keep our employees. Involuntary turnover are areas that could be improved in hiring, onboarding, and department leadership. We want our employees to love their jobs. There's no better way to help make this happen than understanding what they believe will make the workforce better and a place they will love to work. The turnover data is compiled on a monthly basis using the Human Resources Information Management System. Each month, a report is generated that shows the turnover and whether it was voluntary or involuntary. Exit interviews are conducted with employees who voluntarily leave the organization. A monthly report will be developed and combined each month into quarterly and semi-annual reports that indicate the top reasons for voluntary turnover. This information will be combined with the overall turnover data to show trends and areas that we need to improve. The expected business results will be better hiring, more continuity for our students, and better overall service for our students. This report will also show trends that indicate where attention is needed. In departments where turnover is high and has been consistently high, a need may exist for a survey or a focus group to understand why employees are leaving the department. Comparisons of the report year over year will help to show these types of trends and where our focus should be in order to improve retention. Recruiting and talent management are key factors to measure in HR. The job vacancy rate is measured by dividing the total number of open positions today by the total number of positions budgeted, then multiply by 100. This data comes from our applicant tracking system and our HRIS. The reason we would want to track this information is to understand the vacancies by department as compared to the approved positions. This also is an indicator of retention and turnover issues. Quality of new hires is determined by performance, attendance, and overall perspectives of the employees. How an employee interacts on a daily basis with their peers, leaders, and customers indicates a level of satisfaction with their position and the organization. Attendance and performance are indicators of how a person is engaging and committed to the organization. Retention of new employees is another measure. We will look at what time frames they're staying in their positions before seeking transfers or leaving the company. It is important to track the retention rates for applicants hired from all sources. If there are higher retention rates for sources that are lower in yield ratios, then it would be important to determine more effective efforts to recruit from that source. This slide indicates the calculations and how the metric will be tracked. Employee engagement is going beyond happy and satisfied employees to capture the hearts of our employees and their commitment to the organization. Engagement refers to an emotional commitment to the organization and its goals. Connections are created that help us to move beyond where we are to the best we can be. Engaged employees are more likely to refer their friends. They're less likely to leave and look for another job. They ask how they can contribute, and they connect to the mission and vision, feeling proud to work with us. Employees who are fully engaged also provide better service, which results in happier and more satisfied students. The Employee Referral Report produces information that will help us to understand the current level of employee referrals and the opportunities that exist to improve it. It is well known that employee referrals generate the highest retention because they have received the best job preview from the current employee. The number and types of employee relations issues addressed each month is another method for tracking employee engagement. There will always be areas and issues that need to be discussed, but the level and types of issues should be less severe with a highly engaged workforce. The biannual employee engagement survey will indicate trends. It will show us, are we getting better or not? If we are not, the survey scores provide information that will lead us to improvement opportunities. The expected results for the universities by tracking employee engagement is clear. We all want employees who are fully engaged and connected to the mission and vision, with less turnover, producing more consistency in our workforce and for our students. Some metrics are tracked merely by occurrence or compared to last year. With employee engagement, the metrics are compared from year to year, or the frequency in which surveys are conducted. The ongoing measurement of these scores indicates trends in getting better and identifies areas that need more focus. Let's take a look at operations. Knowing the cost associated with employees compared to revenue will help to promote higher retention of employees. The higher retention of workers produces the need for less employees, which results in overall lower costs of operations. The data for determining total salaries per student is derived from the actual salary budget divided by the number of students. This information is available to us on a monthly basis through the HRIS and monthly budget reports. The revenue per employee is a result of taking the total revenue and dividing it by the number of employees. Knowing the revenue per employee helps us to know areas where we need to conduct more training or help to increase retention. Total payroll numbers are tracked on a biweekly basis after payroll is processed. The formula is captured through this information to take total cost of payroll compared to the same time during the previous year. The objective is to look for percentage increase in headcount. It's important to note that the salaries cannot be considered higher costs without considering the 4% merit budget. The salary will go up even if no new employees are hired. This is an important factor in the formula to be considered. The calculations are also shown in this slide for each of the areas we will measure: salaries per student, revenue per student, and employee payroll comparisons, same time frame, year over year. Headcount is another measure that can be correlated with payroll to show the number of employees in the organization at a given time. This metric will be measured by each category of employee, which will be helpful when measuring productivity, student to faculty ratios, and identifying areas that may need part-time help. Headcount is also a good measure to consider with the payroll numbers. While the 4% merit budget will increase the payroll, the correlation of headcount is an area to be sure that is in alignment. The information is received from the HRIS after payroll is processed. It is timely information that is available to us on a biweekly basis and currently reported on a monthly basis. A quarterly report would be meaningful to the senior executive team, indicating trends in headcount and payroll. The expected business results for measuring this metric will be more informed decision-making for approving replacement positions and new positions at CSEG. In combination with reporting of student enrollment and productivity reporting, the payroll and headcount reports are valuable to incorporate into the monthly review and decision-making. The calculation for tracking this measurement is to compare the increases or decreases in headcount to the coinciding payroll report. These reports should track consistently, but payroll will go up at minimum by 4% due to the merit budget. The business result will be found in consistent numbers and possibly decreasing headcount to produce the same results. When turnover is lower, employees are well trained, and employee engagement is high, it is likely there will be less need for increased headcount, and more likely the headcount could be reduced overall. This would result in additional cost savings to the overall organization. The HR department currently gathers data in many ways and utilizes this information in a silo perspective. The information is shared in areas where attention and interest exist. The current monthly review of the financials surrounding student information could be enhanced by the addition of human capital measures that are meaningful and relevant. The HR scorecard being proposed today is merely a beginning point. Once the data is presented and seen as meaningful, the opportunities to expand the HR scorecard are limitless. The source for all HCMs is currently available, but the interest in this information has been less than desired. However, starting with simple and meaningful data that relates directly to the bottom line of the universities, this HR scorecard will be sought out and become a regular agenda item on the Senior Executive Monthly Review meeting. An HR scorecard organizes the data and brings focus to the areas that need to be improved, which result in bottom line results. There will be some potential obstacles to implement an HR scorecard. The data being reported could be seen as subjective and ambiguous. To overcome this obstacle, it is advisable to approach it strictly from a strategic perspective and present it from a holistic viewpoint. Make the point clear of how it affects the whole organization and not just HR or specific departments. The senior executive team is currently accustomed to reviewing very objective data and numbers. When presenting this scorecard, the focus should be on the numbers with supporting data that drives the numbers. The scorecard must be tied to how the universities continue to be successful in service, processes, and people management. When HR data is presented, it's important to overcome the challenge of it being perceived as not really making a difference, and presenting how these metrics will improve enrollments through better service, processes, continuity with higher retention, and an overall workforce that is fully engaged and committed to the mission and vision of CSEG. The HR scorecard may be seen as a standalone data item that doesn't integrate with financials, but this could not be farther from the truth. This is a challenge to acknowledge with factual data, using headcount, payroll, engagement scores as examples, and how these metrics will make a difference. Lastly, unrealistic expectations is another area that may be a potential area of challenge. The data reported on an HR scorecard doesn't result in immediate changes, but provides data that uncovers and identifies areas that need to be improved and could be changed over time. The mere acknowledgement of this information when presenting the scorecard will help to manage expectations for how this data is impacting the overall organization. The HR scorecard will become a trusted source of information for our senior executives in decision making and assuring continued success of Columbia Southern Education Group. Also important, while continuing to support the organization at the current level of exceptional service, the HR team will be seen as more of a strategic partner in the successful operations of the business. It has been a pleasure to present this proposal to you today for an HR scorecard. Thank you for your time and attention during the presentation. We look forward to continuing the conversation and pursuing the implementation of this scorecard. I will be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.